Hey folks, John Boym here, Let's Talk Beef podcast. Sorry I've been a little MIA here the past few weeks. Been dealing with a few things here medically, and kind of had to put the podcast on the back burner for a little bit, and been able to get back to it here and get working again and get the podcasts rolling again. Nothing too serious going on, just got a few neck pains going on here. We're trying to figure that out. I think we're on the right path to getting that fixed and getting back to 100% healthy. So thanks for just being patient and understanding that sometimes just things happen and things got to go the way they do. So, but anyways, this week's podcast, I recorded this one back in October with Dr. Trey Patterson of Padlock Ranch in Ranchester, Wyoming. Unfortunately, I was able to sit down with him, and we kind of had some schedule changes there in October, and just kind of on a whim stopped by Padlock, and Trey was able to give me an hour, and so we actually did this podcast in his pickup. We jumped in the pickup, we mic'd him up, and we just drove around the ranch, and he showed me things while we talked, and we recorded. So it was a bit of a unique situation of just having 1 hour to do this, so we did it in the truck so I could see the ranch and have questions and all that. So it was a lot of fun to see the ranch with Trey and have the conversation. So for those who don't know Trey, he's originally from he's usually from Texas, and ended up moving to Colorado like in his high school years. Attended Colorado State and went to Nebraska, and then went up to South Dakota State and worked in extension there for 5 years. And did a lot of work with ranchers and stuff like that in South Dakota. And then came to Padlock, I think he said 14 years ago, something like that, and has been the president and CEO there for 14 years now. So I hope you enjoy the podcast. Trey is he's a very intelligent man. He's got a lot of information inside of him. He spent a lot of time in the beef industry, and his passion is there. You can definitely hear it in his voice. So great guy, great time talking with him. So thanks a lot, Trey. And thanks a lot to you guys for listening to the podcast. Really do appreciate it. I hope you enjoy it, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks, guys. So here's Dr. Trey Patterson. So that's how we go there. So where are you from?
I'm originally from Texas. I grew up in the panhandle of Texas around the feedlot industry.
Oh, really?
And moved to Colorado when I was in high school.
Uh-huh.
And went to school at Colorado State and then the University of Nebraska.
Huh.
I was on faculty at South Dakota State University for 5 years.
Okay.
And been at the ranch here for about 14 years.
So when did you move to Colorado from Texas?
1988.
How old were you there?
16.
16. So why did the family move to Colorado?
My dad changed jobs.
Okay.
At that point, he got promoted within his company.
Uh-huh. So were you always around? He's telling you to go.
So I grew up around livestock. I did not grow up on a ranch.
Uh-huh.
I didn't grow up with ranching and production ag being the primary source of income for my family. But my dad is a beef cattle nutritionist, so
okay.
I grew up around the industry and
yep.
around animals and always had some animals. I just gained a passion for the ranching industry really when I was in graduate school and began to study different operations and how management styles, how they do things.
Mm-hmm.
Had the opportunity to go work at South Dakota State for a while, and what I did there was work with a lot of different ranchers in the state as I was an extension specialist.
Yep.
And also had a research appointment, but we're just working with just solid, good people.
Yep.
Just makes you understand the sweat equity that goes into building these businesses and how important they are to these families, to the family glue.
Yep.
Holding families together, and you also realize how much pressure goes with that. The pressure that people deal with on a day-to-day basis. The conversations around a kitchen table about how to make an agricultural operation financially viable.
Mm-hmm.
So it's got some real challenges. Agriculture certainly has some real challenges, but it's got some great stories, I think, embedded in it that allow us to be able to celebrate, and that's a message that we really want to
Yeah.
promote and get out. Something
Yep.
that's important to us, to me personally, and to our company.
Yeah.
Is being able to get that message out that we really want to take care of the land. We want to take care of people. We want to take care of animals, and we do.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a passion for that. And you can do that and be profitable at the same time.
Yeah. So you said your dad was a beef nutritionist. So did he grow up on a ranch? How did he get into the beef side of things?
Well, he grew up with extended family that had agriculture. So he had some farming and agriculture in his family. And that was back at the time when most people were not that far disconnected from agriculture.
Mm-hmm.
And he had a passion for it, went to school, got a degree in ag, and then had the opportunity to work for Texas cattle feeders for a short time, and then went to work for a feed company, and went on to graduate school, got an advanced degree in nutrition, and he's still doing private consulting today.
Oh, is he? Huh, so that's kind of where you started with your passion right there, just through your dad.
Yeah.
How about your mom's side? Any ranching animal in there?
Not as close. It was more distant from
Yep.
my mom's side of the family.
Okay. So you got any siblings?
I do. I've got 2 brothers and a sister.
Any of them in agriculture?
They are. I have a brother that lives in Kansas that works in the industry, works for a company that manufactures and sells inoculants for corn silage and probiotics for cattle.
Yep.
I have another. My other brother is in real estate. My sister is. They have an operation, cow-calf operation there at their home that her and her husband run.
Okay. That is a big pile of silage.
Yeah, it is.
So you went to Colorado State for your undergrad?
For undergraduate and master's degree.
And master's. And what is that technically in?
My undergraduate was in animal science.
Yep.
Master's degree in ruminant nutrition, and then I went to the University of Nebraska and got a PhD in ruminant nutrition.
Okay. So what was South Dakota for again? Well, you went to South Dakota for what? Just studying?
No, I went out of graduate school. I took a job at South Dakota State University, and I was based out of Rapid City.
Yep.
Working in beef cattle extension and research. So,
Okay.
And that job in extension just worked a lot with producers, particularly in western South Dakota, but throughout the state and region. And just had the opportunity to meet a lot of people, and oversaw a couple of research ranches out in western South Dakota. And what we tried to do is go and listen to the concerns, the questions that producers had.
Yep.
And then if we didn't have the answers for those that were sufficient, we'd go back and design research trials to try to give answers to those questions.
Okay. So what was some of the questions you did research on?
One of the big things that came up when I was at SDSU, a fairly severe drought hit that part of the world in the early 2000s.
Mm-hmm.
And we kept getting calls about cattle dying and having sickness in cattle, or just kind of sudden deaths. And what we determined was that as everything dried down and reservoirs, water evaporated out of reservoirs, and even groundwater, that the underground reservoirs were being depleted, that there were a lot of salts in that water. And so as the amount of water reduced, the concentration of salts increased. And one of the big salts was a sulfate salt in there. And sulfur is toxic to cattle.
Okay.
They have a requirement for it up to a certain level.
Yep.
And then it's toxic to cattle. And so we designed studies to look at thresholds of what was safe water, what water that absolutely should not be used, and then water that was marginal, and then gave advice on how to use that marginal water,
Yep.
like using it in a period of time when cattle water requirements aren't as high, like in the wintertime.
Yep.
If it was marginal in quality and those kind of things.
Interesting. So what? Okay. So how long were you in South Dakota?
I was in South Dakota 5 years.
5 years.
And a great experience.
Yeah.
SDSU was a great place great university to work, really good people, and I just fell in love with the people and the ranchers, the producers in South Dakota. Just really awesome ranches, and of course a big difference in production systems throughout the state from what they call East River, more of the farmer, farming, cow-calf, and feedlot operations, little grower operations, to more of the western extensive ranching. So that was exciting to be able to see the diversity just within the state that existed in operations, changed precipitation zones. It was really cool to see, but just good people. You know,
so you still in contact with a lot of those guys up there?
I do. I'm able to visit with quite a few of them, see them at meetings and different events. So it's always fun to go back and visit with them.
So after South Dakota, then where did you go from there?
After I left South Dakota State, I left South Dakota State to come to Padlock.
Okay.
So I was offered a job here to manage operations for this ranch. I had done some consulting for this place while I was at the university and had got to know them. And they gave me the opportunity to come here and be an operations manager, and so I did that until 2014, and the CEO at that time retired, and I was fortunate enough to be asked to take the role of CEO.
Wow. So I guess, I know a little bit about Padlock through just reading on the website, but can you tell me kind of the history of Padlock? How did it get started and when? And do you know the history of that well?
Oh, you bet. So
I'm sure you do.
So there was a guy named Homer Scott that was from Lincoln, Nebraska, that came out into this part of the world with Kiewit construction and really liked the area, and then Kiewit was growing their business in this area, and he and his wife Mildred purchased some land down here on the Tongue River near Dayton, Wyoming, where our headquarters is at today. And that was when the ranch was founded in 1943. So we celebrated our 75th anniversary last year.
Okay, cool.
And just began expanding the ranch over time, in some acquisitions and also in leasing ground, and built it over the years into the footprint that we have today. We operate in Bighorn County, Montana, and Sheridan County, Wyoming. So right here on both sides of the state line. Have a cow-calf operation that is fairly extensively run, cattle out on rangeland. Down here on the Tongue River in Wyoming, we've got a farm and a feedlot, and so our model is built about producing calves that are developed in a way that they're not super expensive, so a fairly extensive, low-cost cow-calf operation. And then we use our farm products to grow those calves to add value to them in our feedlot here near Dayton, Wyoming. So we calve in May and June and wean in the fall of the year. We're weaning right now, and then we'll grow these calves on forages we produce on our farm, and then sell yearlings in the spring of the year, or retain ownership on them even further. Keep our own replacement heifers. So a pretty integrated system all the way around.
So was Homer, was he a ranch cattle guy before he got to Wyoming, or how did he kind of decide to get into ranching out here?
Well, he was an engineer, and I think kind of back to the discussion we had earlier, had ties to agriculture, but didn't inherit a big ranch or come with that necessarily that exact background, but just developed a love for it. And the thing that I hear is the Scott family talk about, who, by the way, the Scott family still owns the ranch today.
Okay.
And so his sons and daughters and their kids, and now their kids are owners of the ranch.
Is Homer gone?
Yes, sir. Homer has passed away, and
Okay.
his eldest son, Dan, managed the ranch for well over 40 years and was involved in a period of time when the ranch really became a lot more modern, and we put in center pivots and started crossbreeding cattle and really modernized the system under Dan's leadership. And then Dan retired in 2002, and the family at that time decided to hire a non-family CEO who came to the ranch, and he's the one who hired me. And so I would be the second non-family CEO.
Yeah.
Since Dan left. So we've been the Scott family. They've been through this generational change very intentionally. You know, they want the ranch in the family for perpetuity, and now as the generations expand and over time, like they do, we're dealing with some young people and trying to help them understand what we do and develop that passion for ranching and for owning a great ranch like the Padlock.
Yeah. So what did Homer start with cattle-wise? Was he a Angus guy or Hereford guy, or how did he kind of get his foothold in that?
You know, I believe he started with just Hereford cows, like everybody did back in those days.
I'm learning a lot about Hereford cows.
The 300 head of Hereford cows.
Yep.
And just over time, especially under Dan's leadership, as my understanding, started introducing some different breeds and crossbreeding, and so we still have some Hereford influence in our herd, but they're really an Angus-based cow that also has some Simmental and South Devon influence.
Okay.
There was some Shorthorn influence from years ago.
Yep.
And so we're really after that heterosis, that hybrid vigor that comes from crossbreeding cattle.
Yep.
And we want to produce a product that our customers want. We want a cow that can stay in good condition in this environment. And so you're looking for moderation in biological type, you know, not too heavy a milk production. Mm-hmm. We're in about a 16-inch precip zone here along the mountains, and as you get out to the east, more like a 13, 14-inch precip zone. So we need animals that can fit the environment, but at the same time, we want to be customer focused, find animals that feeder cattle buyers and feedlots want to buy, that will grow well and grade well in the USDA grading scale. You know, a lot of high grading genetics in the herd.
Yep.
And we try to produce a diversity of products that supply those customer needs.
Yeah. So is the Scott family, are they in on the operation day-to-day stuff, or are they kind of more hands-off in a sense?
The Scott family today is very involved in governance of the ranch through a board of directors.
Okay.
And there are not any family members in management of the ranch. We did just this year have a great opportunity to hire a young man that is a family member that has joined our team here, and he's doing a great job, and we hope to have more of that. That's one of the things that we talk about a lot is, you know, when on these operations, to develop the passion that we want, that we have, that we want them to have. It sure helps if you've got a little sweat equity into it, if you spend some time working here and seeing the beautiful country and the animals that utilize it, and being around the interesting people that we get to work with.
Yeah, I'm sure.
The industry and a lot of characters. Mm-hmm. So we want to provide opportunities for the Scott family to come visit, but also to do internships and spend the summer with us and or work for us, you know, full time. Mm-hmm. And I think, you know, someday I think the family would love it if they had a person that said, yeah, I'd like to take over the management of the ranch.
Yep.
And be able to at least have that vision in the windshield anyways, that would be I think a great win-win if it was, you know, somebody that understood the business and could lead the company forward, you know, in a profitable way. So we're really excited about the engagement of the third and fourth, going on fifth generation of Scots, their engagement into the ranch.
Yeah.
But I will say, that generational change is really challenging for these agricultural businesses, because they're a lot of times they're started with a controlling, kind of what you'd call a controlling owner, and you get into the second generation, it's kind of a sibling partnership.
Yep.
And then you go beyond that, it's really what you'd call a cousins consortium. So
Yeah.
how do you put all that together and keep people engaged and involved? And one of the things that the Scott family has been very intentional about is developing future leaders to sit on the board for the ranch, and really promoting the passing down of the tradition and the pride in the ranch, to the family members that many of them may not have grown up here.
Yep.
Of course, the second and some of the third, grew up on the ranch and working here, and some in management, and boy, they're on board. They love it. So I'm trying to partner with them in my role as CEO of the company.
Yep.
Trying to partner with them to say how can we want to be excellent at what we do.
Yep.
And we can talk about that later, how we define that. But we want to be excellent at what we do, but we have a reason for wanting to do that, is we want this ranch to be in the Scott family for perpetuity. We want them to be proud of it.
So how many employees are there on the Padlock Ranch?
Right now we have 36 full-time employees.
36 full-time. So what's the kind of groups of workers, or how do you define different titles? Or do you have cattle guys, farm guys, or kind of how does...
So we have a livestock crew, and our cow herd are out on the rangeland. The cow-calf herds are broken into about 2,000 head management groups, and each of those units then would have what we would call a unit manager. That 2,000 head unit would have a unit manager, and then 1 to 2 full-time employees that would work under that person to take care of that set of cows.
Yep.
And we've got those units scattered throughout the ranch. We've got our feedlot here, where we've got a feedlot manager, and then a few people that report to that person and oversight of that unit. On the farm side, there's a farm manager, and then he's got a couple of foremen that report to him, an irrigation foreman and a farm foreman.
Okay.
And we have a maintenance shop.
Yep.
And a ranch maintenance program, and so we have a manager that oversees that, and has a few people that works under him. So really, if you look at our management team and how it's broken out, we have the folks that report directly to me. We have a CFO that takes care of our finance and accounting. We have a livestock manager that oversees the livestock operations, a farm manager that oversees the farming operations, an asset manager that oversees the shop and maintenance and general asset improvement projects and our fleet of vehicles and equipment.
Yep.
So the asset manager takes care of that. We have an office and a family relations manager that works in helps the CFO and payroll and accounts payable, but also in scheduling family visits to the ranch and scheduling upkeep, for folks to come in and clean homes that the family's staying in, and improvement projects. And then with Caitlin, who you met, joining our team, she's in data management, data collection, data analysis, and also taking care of managing our website and social media accounts.
Okay. So what is the unit manager? So he runs 2,000, 2,500 cows. So what's his what decisions is he making on a day, or kind of what's his level of work?
Well, they have big jobs. They've got a lot of animals under their supervision, and so they're setting weekly and daily schedules for cattle moves and different activities that occur throughout the year, like branding and weaning, bull turnout, those type of things. They're scheduling all of those in coordination with the whole management team, and then overseeing and leading the crew to go out and actually make those things happen. So they spend a lot of time horseback. They're working managers.
Yep.
They're good grass people. They understand forages, and they're bought into our concept and model on how we want to manage rangeland, which we want to give growing plants, time to rest during the year and such. And so we're rotating cattle. So they make sure those things occur, and then work to keep the people engaged that work under them, to help with that. They're jobs that are too big for one person, so there's a human resource component. So a lot of logistical management with that.
Yeah.
Just really planning and scheduling, and when you've got a couple thousand cows, you don't get up in the morning and decide what you're going to do. Usually, it's got to be fairly planned out and scheduled to keep cattle, to keep feed and water in front of cattle all the time, to get the production that we want out of the cows and to take good care of the cows.
So you're implementing an intensive grazing system. So how big are the pastures, and how often are you moving stuff then?
Well, I wouldn't say that, and on our cows, I wouldn't call it really intensive grazing.
Okay.
We would call it planned time control grazing.
Okay.
And so the management groups may range anywhere from within a unit. So we've got these 2,000, 2,500 cow units, and then within those there'll be these herds that'll be anywhere between 400 and 1,200 head that'll be in pastures of various sizes, anywhere from 2,000 to 20,000 acre pastures. We've developed cross fencing in a lot of those to help with cattle moves. But early in the season when plants are growing, one of the things that we want to try to avoid is having growing plants bitten by a cow more than once. And so we want the factory at some time during what I would call the effective growing season, meaning a period of time where we've got some moisture and the temperature to support the forage production, to have some available factory above the ground to capture sunlight and CO2 and be able to put nutrients into the root of the plant and create healthy, you want to have healthy soils, healthy water cycle, nutrient cycles. And you can do that and accomplish that and graze the plants. You just can't continually graze the plants over and over during that period. I think of it a lot like a factory. If you and I went into business together and borrowed the money from the bank to build a factory, and a tornado came and took the factory down, then we'll go collect our insurance money and probably have to go borrow some more money from the bank to rebuild the factory. If a tornado comes over and takes that factory out again, at some point the bank's going to quit lending us any money.
Yeah.
At some point we're going to go broke, and I think plant physiology is a lot like that. You can't let the plant go broke. You've got to be putting some money back into the bank. Now, the factory that we're talking about with a plant actually becomes the feed for cows. So we allow those plants to capture the carbon and grow, and then we graze it, and then we give them time to rest and recover, to grow that factory back up, to have some vegetation on the soil so it doesn't erode, but also to put some nutrients back into the root of the plant. So next year you've got a healthy plant, and it makes you a lot less prone to drought, because you've got deeper root systems in the plants.
Yep.
So you become a little more drought tolerant. Of course, drought is drought. We get affected by it like anybody else, but it sure helps when you've got a healthy system going into it.
Yeah. Huh. Makes sense.
And so to answer your question about timing, it depends on the size of the group and on the size of the pasture, but especially early on during the growing season in May and June, we're trying not to leave animals in one particular area, more than 2 or 3 weeks. And
Yep.
let them graze this area and then get off of it and allow that to recover. Now, there's a lot of grazers that have intensified that to, instead of being weeks, to being days or even some in hours. With our operation, we may have some diseconomies of scale in being able to manage that intensely. And in this part of the world, water is really limited.
Yep.
And so if you're going to put a lot of animals in a really small area, even if it's for a short period of time, there's got to be enough water in that really small area to take care of them.
Yep.
So you find this balance somewhere between that principle of rest, which the more concentrated and the shorter you can be there, the more rest you get, and what you can manage economically with people, and what your water will support. And that's the balance we're always trying to find. And we're seeing great benefits on the rangeland from doing that, from implementing a rotational grazing system. We've got areas that were historically, that might have been heavily infested with annuals like cheatgrass,
Yep.
Japanese brome, that after decade or more than a decade of rotational grazing, we're seeing the number of perennial plants really expanded, and the number of those annuals being quite a bit lower. We're also seeing more species diversity. We've got areas that I could show you that we're seeing warm season plants coming back in
Oh, wow.
from rotational grazing. We're a pretty cool season dominated
Yeah.
area. So it's really cool to see big bluestem growing in Montana,
Yeah.
and having that kind of diversity, and that's good for the nutrition of the cattle.
Yep.
It's good for the soils, good for the wildlife, from the habitat. So all those things play into it.
Yeah. So you said you calve like April, May, somewhere in there?
We calve in May and June.
May and June. So then what's kind of your schedule then? So the calve May, June, when are you branding and doing that stuff?
So we're calving on green grass in May and early June, and then we'll start branding in June, and brand in June and July, and then usually in late September, early October start weaning calves. And for us, that takes a while. Weaning is not a day; it's a process. It
Yeah, I'm
takes
sure.
a couple of months to get through.
Yeah.
We'll finish that up, in early December usually,
Wow.
and have all the calves weaned. And we're also pregnancy testing the cows via ultrasound in the fall, as we're weaning or shortly after weaning, and determining which ones are pregnant for the next year, and then marketing those cattle that aren't pregnant. A lot of those will rebreed, especially the younger ones will rebreed for a later calving season, and so they'll be what we would call fall calvers, that we would sell to more areas that are more prone to want to run fall calvers, maybe more in the Midwest, for instance,
Yep.
where there's more forage production and more opportunity to do that. So calving in the fall is a little bit, not impossible, but it's more difficult in the arid
Yeah.
environment that we get, especially with how tough the winters can get. And such.
So what's your brand?
A brand is looks like a padlock, and so it's if you can imagine if you held a master lock in front of you, looking at it from the side, that's what the brand looks like.
Okay. So I guess I should have asked this earlier, but how did the name Padlock Ranch come about?
I think it really came about along with the purchase of that brand,
Okay.
and putting those names together.
Yeah. So yeah. So they just liked that brand and just kind of went with it. Interesting. So you guys do any AI work or anything like that, or just bulls?
We do. We AI our first calf heifers, those ones that are being bred for the first time. They are actually artificially inseminated to Wagyu bulls, which is a Japanese breed
Okay. Wow.
that are a little smaller.
Yep.
When they're born. They're a little lighter bone structure, and so it really promotes calving ease. One of the things that a lot of operations have to deal with is first calf heifers can have difficulty calving. They're younger. They're smaller animals. They're not fully grown yet when they calve as a 2-year-old, and so the Wagyus allow them to calve more easily, and so we artificially inseminate the heifers to these Wagyu bulls, and then and then just range calve, meaning we're just calving out on grass like we do with cows with the cow herd, and they have the babies easily, and they stay alive, and it's taken a lot of cost out of the system, not having to be there to help assist.
Yep.
A lot of births in those first calf heifers. And then the other benefit is the F1 Wagyu cross calves, there's a nice premium for them.
Yeah.
Because there's a need for that, there's a demand for that Wagyu beef in the industry.
So where are you sending the Wagyu stuff?
So we're in a relationship with a company called AgriBeef out of Idaho.
Okay.
That we've contracted to develop these calves for, and so we sell the calves to them as yearlings weighing about 800 pounds in the spring of the year. So they come in pretty light in the fall.
Yep.
They're a little smaller animal, and then we'll grow them on our corn silage and hay rations here in our feedlot, and make 750 to 800 pound yearlings out of them, and then AgriBeef buys them, and then they feed them and market the beef from them through their program.
Yeah.
Snake River Farms is the name of their program.
Okay. So how many heifers do you keep? How many heifers are you AIing a year?
This year we AI'd about 2,100 heifers.
Oh, wow. That's not a small group by any means.
We've got a system down that works pretty well for us.
So you doing a cedar system on them, or?
No, we're using a modified system. You'll find if you talk to me long enough, we've got a lot of things that are fairly customized that have just over time and working with great partners and advisors, and our group of people have been able to develop systems. So we'll bring them into our feedlot in the summertime. They'll be out on grass before that, and those are ran in a management intensive grazing where they're on irrigated pastures, and they're moved every 1 to 3 days in fairly small pastures.
Yep.
So all through the first part of the summer in May and June, early July, they're managed that way. Then they come into our feed yard, and we ride natural heats on them and pull off natural heats. Now we'll use some Lutalize on a portion of them early to get them to come into heat right away, and then towards the end of it, we'll Lutalize when we get down to about 700 or 800. We'll Lutalize what's left, and so it basically squeezes that AI period into about a 15-day period, which helps us manage our feed cost and get the cattle. We want them out. We got what they're meant to do is be out grazing, so we don't want them in the yard getting bred for too long.
Yeah.
We try to get that done and get them gone. So, and then they leave right after AI and go up into the mountains, the Wolf Mountains in Montana, or the Bighorn Mountains in Wyoming, and spend the rest of the summer, early fall, out on grass.
Yeah. Huh. So you were talking earlier, kind of just about the ranch and the family, and the transitions and the excellence and stuff like that. What did you said we might get into that a little bit more? So what did you mean by like that excellence and all that stuff?
So this is really cool. The Scott family they've gone through a process that they call parallel planning, where the family and the board of directors and management start looking at the questions of what's important to us, what is the purpose for this business to be in existence. And for this particular operation, they've developed 5 elements of purpose. And so that's what I'm held accountable to on an annual basis, to meet their 5 elements of purpose, which is really how they have defined sustainability. So if you say, sustainability is keeping an operation in production and keeping it healthy, meaning healthy resources and healthy finances and such for a long time, and healthy people and engaged people, it takes you have to be able to focus on those things and identify what does that mean to you. So the 5 elements of purpose for Padlock are number 1, being excellent financially, being profitable, being able to make money. That's one thing we don't talk about in sustainability a lot, right? You're not going to be around, and it's not going to be sustainable if you go broke.
Yeah.
And so that becomes one of the elements of purpose. The second one is natural resource stewardship. We want to take care of our rangeland. We want it We want it improving over time. We want to make sure that we're not degrading it. Those things we talked about with grazing management, for instance. We want healthy soils and nutrient cycles. We believe that goes hand in hand. Good stewardship and conservation goes hand in hand with profitable ranching.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I think it's a necessity of long-term profitable ranching.
Yep.
And so we have a conservation slant that we want to be conservationists and take care of our riparian areas, take care of our soils, make sure we leave the land better than it was when we found it. And the third one is having excellent people that are engaged, that are bright. I think that in today's industry, to be successful, you've got to be able to sort through a lot of information and a lot of data and understand finance, understand accounting, understand range management, animal husbandry, leadership, of human beings. Within that, you've got animal handling and good farming practices that are sustainable. And so we want it to be our purpose that we've got people in place that can help accomplish those goals, and people that can grow and support and raise their families in our in these communities that we work in, which leads us to the fourth element of purpose, which is to be a positive member of our community. We want for ranching agricultural operations to be around for a long time, you need viable communities that have hospitals, that have schools, that transportation, etc. Things that are important when folks are raising a family in an area and are just living in an area.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have a huge presence, for instance, on the Crow Indian Reservation, and so we look at them as part of they're not part of our community, and so we want to take care of folks on the reservation in service and in philanthropy. And it's also, when we think of community, it's beyond that. It's really the greater community of our beef industry. We want to support the industry, to be able to participate in protecting the freedom to operate without excessive regulation, and developing markets for our products that we sell, educating consumers, etc. So all that really fits into that community purpose. And so I've given you 4: financial excellence, natural resource stewardship, human excellence, being a positive member of the community, and then the 5th one is being an emblem for the family. And that's where also for the business to be in the family for perpetuity, you've got to have engaged people.
Yep.
And as we talked earlier, as you get down the line there a ways, that becomes more and more difficult if you are not intentional about it, about creating that engagement. So really the family emblem is a culmination, is having success and a culmination of those other elements of purpose, and they're all interrelated. But it's also them provide a place that the owners can be proud of, that's well kept, that looks nice, that has good resources, a place they can work, maybe build a career, they can recreate, they can show off to friends, etc., and be proud of it. So when we sit down at the end of the year and say, well, did we have a successful year? We look at all of those components. How did we do in the financial side, but also how did we do in taking care of our resources? How do we do with the people and the community and with the family?
Oh, that's really cool.
It is. It for me, being a non-family manager, it sets this framework that when I'm developing a strategy for the ranch, they've given me this framework that's what you need. This is what's important to us.
Yep.
And so it helps with that, and it helps in day-to-day decision making. Does this fit our purpose?
Yeah.
Does it fit our vision for where we want to be?
Huh. No, that's really neat to see that you put those quote unquote rungs of the ladder to towards success to climb to get there.
Right.
That's neat.
And we set metrics, we set goals within those areas, and
Yeah.
are always striving to be better. I think that's one thing that we've got to be careful of in our industry, is not being complacent.
Yep.
We've got a changing consumer, we've got changing environmental conditions, we've got changing world markets and domestic markets, changing cost structures. And so we have to be nimble enough to be able to adapt and change and be able to weather, not just weather, but be leaders as the industry evolves over time.
Yeah.
Not be complacent and just stuck in old ways. I like to say that, at this ranch that we are, we try to combine a lot of tradition with innovation. Mm-hmm. And so is that tradition and heritage important? Yes, it is. It's important because it's who we are, being a large Western ranch and doing things the quote cowboy way.
Yep.
And it helps us attract good, high quality employees. There's people that want to live that lifestyle. We also happen to think that moving cattle horseback is the most low stress way to manage them.
Yep.
And being out on the ground with looking at the grass and the soils, and it just really fits into the whole thing. So we got these real traditional aspects that we hold on to, but these cows that we're out moving horseback all have an electronic ID in their ear, and we've got an electronic database in the office that says how old she is and we know what her pregnancy status has been since she's been in the herd, and any notes on her if there's something we want to watch for, if she had a sickness or whatever. So that's pretty cool. And as we you think about the farming operation, and the evolution of technology in farming has been incredible. And so all of our farm fields are broken into zones based off of GIS imagery and soil analysis, so we can apply precision fertilization. If you got a farm field, not every square foot of that field has the same production potential.
Yep.
Certainly in our environment, we have multiple different soils and depths of soil, etc., as you go across the farm, and production varies, and so precision fertilization allows us to fertilize those areas that have more production potential with more nutrients, and those that have less production potential with less nutrients. You're running less nutrients off into the watersheds that way, for instance, but you're also increasing your yield and lowering your overall fertilizer output, lowering your production costs. And so all of our machinery is all GPS guided, and when we're planting a field, or certainly we use GPS and fertilizer, but we use planting, for example, when we're planting a field, it's done with GPS guided auto steering on the tractor, so we're not overlapping areas that have already been planted, and your row spacing stays completely accurate. And so if you don't have that, you have a tendency, you don't want to leave a big gap, so you might overlap a little bit.
Yep.
Well, that costs money, and certainly you're not going to get the production if your plant spacing's too compact in a certain area. So that kind of technology is really cool, and we can get our soil analysis back, get the imagery data back, and reevaluate those zones all the time, and make sure that we're farming in a way that is economically sustainable, but also environmentally sustainable.
Yeah. So going along those lines of the future and progression and stuff like that, what's your outlook on the beef industry right now, the positives and the negatives that it's looking at?
Well, I think, let's just start with I don't know if I'd call them negatives, but just externalities that we have to be aware of that, have the potential to change our business. We certainly have a changing consumer that we have to be aware of. But an externality that we're facing right now is this concept of food that looks and tastes like beef that is made in a laboratory or a factory. It's not really beef, and so We have to be able to understand what they're doing with that and be able to embrace that and educate people on the wholesomeness of beef cattle. And there'll be people that will take that and say, man, that's going to be great because we're having this great effect on the environment. If you look out across these landscapes and look at the amount of carbon that we're capturing in this grassland, and you think of carbon sequestration, and you think of the wildlife that supports, and good grazing management also promotes good wildlife habitat, and those all go hand in hand. And so I think I wouldn't say it's negative. I think one of the they're just challenges on education that we've to show the consumer today that we are working on this. We're working towards continual improvement. Some of the things that I've talked about already, I think some things that we're doing support that, and that we believe, wholeheartedly that production agriculture fits really well with a number of things. It fits well with environmental sustainability. It fits well with rural community stability. But we're providing a safe and highly nutritious and very delicious source of protein for the consumers. And guess what? It doesn't have to be priced exorbitantly.
Yep.
We can produce it. We're pretty darn efficient at it.
Mm-hmm.
So those are challenges that we need to get out. And so what are the positives? I think it's the same thing, that we've got opportunity in those areas.
Yep.
To really promote our business and what we do.
So what, on that line as well, what do you wish the consumers knew out there? What advice do you have for consumers, or what would you tell a consumer that's maybe questioning some of this stuff?
I think that I would tell a consumer to really question it. Don't just take the first thing you hear, and to understand that a lot of the information that's made available to consumers is actually backed by activist groups that have an angst against the industry. Get the facts and talk to us and listen to us. And by the way, consumer, we're trying to get better about telling you what we do and being transparent.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want to hide anything. We want you to see it. And so that would be what I would hope we can get them to understand, is that we can produce this delicious steak for you, or this delicious burger, and we can do that in a way that is good for the environment and good for human beings. And you can feel good about eating that because it's nutritious, it's healthy for you. And so, you may look at me and say, well, you're just, you're in the industry. Of course you're going to say that. Well, I'm also a scientist by training, and I'll tell you what I feed my kids, or the products that we produce. I love my family more than anything. I would never do anything that would harm them. I love our environment more than anything. I would never do anything that would harm that. Just don't take the perception that you might hear in some circles and think that applies to the beef industry in general, because it really does not.
Mm-hmm. Looking at, from what I've gathered, or you hear about it, the farmers, the ranchers, the average age continues to go up because there's not a lot of young people coming back into the business. So what advice do you have for young people that want to try to get into the beef business, or that are in there and are struggling, or what advice do you have for those types of people?
Well, I think look, for people trying to get in the business, keep your eye on the horizon. I think the future of agriculture is bright. We've got population growth in the world. People need to eat. We're good at what we do. There's going to be a bright future for you. But find a way to get yourself educated, whether that be formally or otherwise, because the industry needs it needs smart people. So get yourself an education. That could be a college education. That could be education of hard knocks and just a dedication to lifelong learning. And then go out and experience it, see it, and give yourself an opportunity to grow into it. one of the things that when you're managing a lot of land and you're managing cattle is, yes, you want a good experiential background, or you want a good educational background, but experience really matters. So one of the things that some young people may need to understand is, yeah, your buddy, that your roommate in college may have gone into a different industry, and right out of school they're making more money than you might get in an introductory agricultural level job. But look forward, look beyond that, get that experience, because there's going to be opportunity. There's going to be opportunity for you to live an amazing lifestyle, and I think there's financial opportunity to earn a living, earn an income that can support a very healthy lifestyle. And so just be willing to work at it, though. Agriculture is it is a challenge, but it is extremely rewarding.
Yeah.
It's extremely rewarding to be able to see progress and see wildlife and watch a little calf grow into a healthy young heifer that ends up going back into the production herd, and you had a part in that, and you had a part in this bigger picture that we look at about providing safe and wholesome food for people to eat. So, you know what young people need if you want to do it. You need passion.
Yeah.
And if you're not passionate about it, maybe agriculture isn't for you, because it takes you have to love this business to be great at it. So, and don't let people scare you that agriculture is a net loss kind of business. You can be profitable in this business, and you can accomplish a lot of things with good insight and good management and good resources and people around you. There's great opportunity. We need a lot of young minds, and one neat thing about new people coming into the industry is they ask questions. Well, why are you doing that? And boy, for a lot of us, you'd think there and say, well, you ought to know why we do that. But sometimes it really makes you stop and think, why are we doing that? And so it makes you better to have those young minds, and maybe they're not young, maybe they're just new minds, new innovative thought and energy to bring into the business. So, for me personally, getting into what I'm doing now, it was just a lifelong dream, and I just worked hard at it, and I was willing to accept, what the good Lord gave me in terms of what and when, and the opportunity came, and I think it can come for a lot of people to be able to be involved in it, and be an ag.
So where do you go in the future? Where does Padlock go in the future? What's the whole future hold for both of them?
Well, I think, for our company, we're going to be here, and we're going to be better 10 years from now than we are today. I think we're better today than we were 10 years ago. And I think we'll be different, though. I think you'll see, if you come back in 10 years and talk to me, you'll see that I've learned some things that I used to think I knew that I didn't. It's made me personally better, but our company's better because of it. You may see different crops as you drive around. You may see a different land footprint. Maybe that's an expansion. Maybe it's a contraction. You will see us involved in different marketing programs. I think one thing that you'll see with the Padlock Ranch is that we're gonna be innovative, and we're gonna be excellent at whatever we're doing. And it might take some those things take time, but if we're always learning and growing, that it's going to be fun. I mean, it's going to be really fun. This is cool. And we sit here every year and reevaluate what we're doing. And sometimes you come back and say, okay, what we're doing now is the right thing. It's working really, really well. But you always have to be looking at what things aren't working well. What can we change? And so, for me personally, I just want to be a part of that. And I want to be better next year than I am this year. I want to be one thing, I want to be a better leader. I want to be able to engage people and continue to grow in that area. I think being able to see people come into the business and, in our company and otherwise in the industry and be able to grow and have success, boy, that gets you up going in the morning thinking, man, this is great. So that's where I'm at. I just want to continue to get better and help the company that I work for be better.
Well, that's good. So what do you do for fun around here?
This is a pretty big hunting area. There's a lot of people like to hunt. I'm not necessarily a big game hunter, but we do some bird hunting and fishing and hiking and those type of things. Of course, love getting out horseback.
Yeah.
Did you grow up
on horses?
I did. I've had horses most of my life.
Yeah.
So nothing better than being on a good horse and riding through some, fat set of cows that just look happy and healthy.
Yeah. So your family, do they have interest in agriculture, or what do they kind of?
They do. Yeah. I've got two children that are involved in the business now, and I've still got some little kids at home. But I think I'm talk about it enough and excited about it enough. I see the interest in them and continuing their professional paths in ag. If they decide not to, that's just fine.
Yeah.
It's fine with me, but I hope to be able to instill in them, regardless of what career path they choose, that just how important agriculture is. And I want to be able to, that's what we want to try to get out. I got a chance yesterday. I was told, so we got a school tour coming through. And Trey, would you talk to this group from the school? It turns out they were kindergartners.
They were. I saw them.
That's cool. So I got to I didn't give a very scientific talk, right, to kindergartners. That was fun, and just being able to talk to them about what we do and how we love it. So that was a real blast yesterday, talking to the kindergartners.
I felt a little odd around them because I was probably the weird guy that nobody knew who I was, and there's a bunch of little kids there. And I was just like, I'm just going to try to stand over here, far away, and just not, I didn't want somebody to question who I was. So, but I definitely, it was neat to see a whole bunch of, little kids just walking around the farm and asking questions. And doing that. That was really cool. So that's great that you guys are doing that type of stuff and getting your message out. And it's a great message that all those 5 big key things that you talked about that's a lot of people should look at doing something like that and integrating it possibly into their system if they can. So that's really cool. But I think that's kind of a good spot to kind of wrap up the podcast here for today. We've been, if you've heard, we've been driving around in a pickup the whole time because this was the only hour we had to hang out together. So Trey's been driving around showing me the ranch while we talk. So it's pretty neat. I didn't realize we were down low and then we came up high, and there's a lot of cropland up here on this top. So it's kind of neat to see all that and all around. But I just got to say, Trey, thanks so much for allowing me to come on the ranch and show me around. I know it was kind of a really, really last second kind of a thing. I had a bunch of scheduling things change, so you guys were very adept of letting me come and show up quickly and doing this and fitting me in. So I just want to say thanks a whole bunch for that. I really appreciate it.
It was my pleasure. Enjoyed the visit.
So, and I hope to be back here again, hopefully sooner than 10 years. That's a long time. Hopefully I'm still podcasting in 10 years. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, that'd be fun to go back and compare.
It would. I'm excited to do that in a few years, kind of start going back to some of these first podcasts that I did and see where they're at and see how it's going. But
maybe we'll have more time next time.
Yeah, next time I'll have more of a schedule and we'll get more on the books and we can spend a few days and do it. But I had a great time. I'm glad it worked out. So thanks a whole bunch, Trey.
You bet. Thank you.
Thanks.
And there you go, folks. That was Dr. Trey Patterson of Padlock Ranch. Once again, I want to say thank you so much for coming back after a little time off, and thanks for taking the time out of your day to listen to the podcast. If you get a chance, please like on iTunes. Give a 5-star rating. Really helps me out. Appreciate it. And like and share on Facebook and Instagram as much as you can. So thanks a lot, guys. Have a great day.